morning. I'm right outside of Dawes Elementary here in the Ashburn neighborhood, where members of the SEIU Local 73 have a picket scheduled for later on today. But joining us right now is Larry Alcoff, who's the chief negotiator. Larry, one of the first questions, we know that these CPS members have been without a contract for over a year, but negotiations continued throughout that whole time.
Yeah, I mean, part of the problem that happened is we were negotiating under the Rahm Emanuel leadership, and for the last 8 years, Rahm has not put the workers who do the work of our members of keeping schools clean, keeping schools safe, and taking care of special needs children as a high priority for the community. He was much more interested in sort of an agenda that served the 1%. We were hopeful and that the mayor, the new mayor, Mayor Lightfoot, would change the direction and agenda of our city and put students first and also put low-income, working-class people who work for the schools and serve our students first. So far, we haven't seen a substantive change in the position of the city, but we're still hopeful that the mayor will rise to the occasion and represent an abandonment of the Rahm Emanuel years and maybe return us to the years of when Harold Washington was mayor and there was a hopeful moment for working-class and poor people in the city of Chicago.
So we know the school year has already started. What's the holdup with this contract?
Well, we're in negotiations. We went through fact-finding. We're waiting for the fact-finder's report. The issues in front of us right now are several things. Our members want to keep the schools clean. That means that you have to staff the schools with custodians, you have to train the custodians, and you have to make sure that they have the equipment to do it. Instead of paying a company like Sodexo or Aramark tens of millions of dollars every year to mismanage the facilities and the cleaning of the schools. All that does is puts the profits of Sodexo and Aramark and their shareholders ahead of the students and the community that they should be serving, or the Chicago Public Schools should be serving. It also means that people who take care of every day the special needs kids who come into our schools, who are in special education, whether they are the people who make sure they get on the bus to school and then home, or the special education classroom assistants in the school, they don't receive the kind of support they need, the pay they need, the training they need, nor the staffing they need. We have an example of a bus aide who's been a 27-year employee, and because of the low pay, where people are paid 4 to 6 hours a day, but they get up at 5:30 in the morning. They have to be at work at 5:30. They don't get home until 6 p.m., but they're only paid 4 to 6 hours for the day. She slept in her car for 3 months this year. 3 months, because she was homeless, working 27 years for the public schools of Chicago. We can do better than that. We can do better than paying special education classroom assistants poverty wages so that they're making $31,000, $32,000 and have to drive Uber all night in order to pay their bills and live in the city of Chicago.
Well, Larry, thank you so much for joining us this morning. And coming up at 7, we're going to have stories from those CPS members, so make sure to stick around. Again, I'm live in Ashburn this morning. Diana Gutierrez, The Jam. As you can see behind me, members of the SEIU Local 73 joining here outside of Dawes Elementary in Ashburn. And with me this morning is Ira Garcia, who's a special education classroom assistant. Ira, I want to start with asking you, what are your duties? What are your responsibilities?
I start with 3 kids, and then I go to the class, and I end up sometimes with 5 to 6 more kids. And then after that, we go to recess and lunch, and I end up supervising over 200 kids at recess times.
And so one of the biggest things on the contract here is getting better resources and getting better training for SEICAs, for positions like yours. What is going wrong right now?
That on PD days, instead of giving us professional trainings, they get us to be cleaning the classrooms, disinfecting, especially pre-K, primary. We're there cleaning, and we're not here to clean. We're here to get trained to better provide our kids.
So how have you been managing thus far if you have not a lot of people working, and when you are given this time to develop for professional development days, you're put to clean?
Well, my 15 years of experience as a SEICA have been trained me to better accommodate everything.
Yeah, absolutely. And one quick message that you have for CPS parents that are watching, that are concerned about what's going on, especially now that we're starting school.
Well, me particularly, we have a lot of CPS workers as parents. I'm a parent. I have a junior as a CPS student, and I know that parents are going to be supporting us and backing us up because we're doing this for our students.
Ira, thank you so much for joining us, and everyone, well, this story is going to continue, so negotiations are still on the table. We are going to continue covering this story. For now, I'm live in Ashburn this morning. Diana Gutierrez, The Jam.